The story begins as a group of kids dreams about becoming treasure hunters.
そして目指すはただ一つ。世界最強の英雄だ。
With the goal of obtaining riches and glory. Everyone is in total agreement, including the kid that's just like a cardboard box. And they vowed to become the best heroes in the world. Treasure hunters travel the world to explore ruins called treasure vaults, so they can collect the relics hidden inside. They risk their lives fighting monsters called phantoms, but in return they can obtain vast riches and glory. A very highly regarded clan is holding interviews for potential new members, and our protagonist named Kruai waits in line. There is a limit to how far a solo hunter can go, so it's vital to join a party if they have their sights on a high goal. Some girl named Ruta introduces herself to Kruai because he's the only one around that doesn't look like a creep, but Kruai awkwardly doesn't shake her hand.
よろしく。
僕はKurai Andolihy.
Ruta wants to join a party because she has been having a hard time with a certain treasure vault, but some guy mocks her for trying to do so while only being level 3. Ruta is insulted when he calls her an amateur, but the guy points out that she's too low of a level to join the renowned First Steps clan. He recommends that she just run to her mommy, so Ruta challenges him to a fight. The argument is broken up, and Kruai is glad that the commotion is over. Inside, Ruta is overwhelmed by all the hunters that are trying to join the First Steps clan, and she is shocked to hear that this is Kruai's 5th time being at one of these interviews. Skill is everything for hunters. Those with talent can instantly make a name for themselves and climb the ranks. Those without talent, however, can only cling to the few chances that they get. The First Steps clan consists of several parties, and the Arc Brave party is the strongest. At this interview, they even managed to complete a level 7 treasure vault with just 6 of their members. Their leader is Arc Rodin, and if he accepts a hunter, then they are guaranteed to be successful. However, as far as Kruai knows, the Arc Brave has never accepted a new member through one of these interviews. Their tables surrounded by a ton of interviewees. Ruta wonders why another party only has one single empty chair, and the big guy named Greg comes out of nowhere and explains at that table that he belongs to the party that originally founded First Step. They are called the Grievers, and they came to the capital years ago with their overabundant talent. They made a name for themselves as one of the top parties in the capital. Their full name is the Grieving Souls, and they're actually the party of Kruai's childhood friends. This is the first time that the Grievers are accepting new members, and it's the entire reason so many people came out to the event. There is no one at the table, so it seems like this might have just been a false rumor. One red-headed kid makes his presence known by saying that he has no time for losers, and he demands to know where the Grievers are. He boasts about already being level 4, and he was planning to allow the capital's strongest party to recruit him. Some girl named Tino is stopped from showing up in this kid's place, but Tino plans to make it quick just like her sister would do. She wants to teach him a lesson because she deserves to be in Grieving Souls before this kid. But she is reminded that the clan master told her not to make a scene. It's too late, as everyone antagonizes them and they make room for a fight. Tino is eager to get going, but Kruai is worried about something, and he tells Ruta to come outside with him. The redhead wants to do some trash talking, but Tino plans to hear what he has to say after she chops his head off, because, again, that's what her sister would do. As Kruai makes his escape, he thinks about how he never should have come today. As anticipation for the fight reaches its peak, Tino senses something shocking enough to draw her attention away. She completely ignores the feverish chanting for the battle and pays no attention to the redhead powering up his sword. Instead, her focus is now completely on Kruai. Tino shocks everyone by rushing to Kruai. But what's even more strange is that she calls him Master. It turns out the Kruai is actually the first step of clan master and leader of Grieving Souls. The clan was waiting for him to get started, and everyone is shocked to realize who he is. In this golden age of treasure hunters, one man stood amongst all of them, and his name is Kruai. Several years before all this, Kruai and his friends arrived at the capital. They were new, but they were finishing treasure vaults suited for beginners and record speeds. One time, Kruai was saved by his friend, but his friend just assumed that he was just acting as bait. Kruai and his friends all shared the same dream of becoming great hunters, but the amount of talent they had was not equal. His 5 friends possessed monstrous potential, so Kruai considered himself to be exceedingly ordinary compared to them. That was when Kruai decided that he would only get in their way if he stayed with them. They were all really close friends, so they never said anything. So Kruai knew that he would have to make the decision to leave himself. Kruai told them all goodbye one day, but they shockingly decided to make him their leader instead. They were all in total agreement, so Kai wondered if they even listened to what he just said. The decision was already made for him. So Kai has spent the last 4 years as the leader of a party of his gifted childhood friends, the entire time wishing that he could just retire from being a hunter altogether. Back to the present, Ruda can't believe that she was talking to the clan master of First Steps. Kai was super late to the interview because he overslept, but Mark thinks that it was just a joke. Tino tells Ark to get away from him because she hates how superficial he is. Ark just thinks she's joking too. He credits Kai for diligently scouting the crowd, but he's way off. Ark's impressed that Kai went undercover without his uniform, but again, Kai points out that he really just overslept. Tino has had enough of Ark, so she wants him to be removed from the clan altogether. But this guy is a leader of Ark Brave. Tino was a solo hunter affiliated with First Steps, and she's an apprentice to Kai's childhood friend named Liz. Kai says that there's no room for new members in the Grieving Souls, but he gets an idea, and he wonders if Ark Brave would take in a new member if he recommended them. Ark trusts Kruai with all his heart, so he says that he would. This shocks everyone in the room because Ark Brave rarely ever accepts anyone. Bart says that one person wouldn't hurt. Kruai is glad that Ark is such a generous guy, but one of their members is furious about having someone forced onto their team. Tino assumes that she's the one he will be recommending, so she is really grateful. She is distracted when the mullet head from earlier wants his revenge, but Kruai says to leave him be. The kid introduces himself as Gilbert, and Kruai is surprised to hear that he isn't in a party, even though he's level 4. Kruai can tell that this kid won't be an asset immediately, but he will become something special once he gets training from Ark and the others. Kruai, however, is really bad at judging people, so whoever he picks to join Ark will be totally based on luck. Kruai then shocks everyone when he chooses to recommend Gilbert, but only on one condition. He explains that the most important thing for a hunter is to not lose, because being weak only puts their party in danger. Because of this, he needs Gilbert to show that he's not going to lose. Kruai gives Gilbert a fair warning though, because he has never lost a single time since becoming a hunter. Everyone is amazed by Kruai's confidence, but Kruai knows that this fact is only true because he has actually never been in a proper fight before. Kruai doesn't plan to fight directly this time either. He makes things way more interesting by telling everyone that whoever ends up with his ring will be the one he recommends to join Ark Brave. Kruai starts off the madness by giving the ring to Gilbert, so Tino instantly kicks the mullet head right in his face. The ring is dislodged from his hands, and everyone wonders if he's even alive anymore. Everyone goes crazy as they go after the ring, and Kruai tells them that it's actually a relic that they can keep if they get it. As the chaos intensifies, Kruai says goodbye to the 2 he met earlier and decides to head home. Then the next day, Kruai is told that he made the front page news. He made a huge fight break out, and it ended up with the entire venue getting blown up. The vice clan master is Ava, and Kruai tells her to use Ark Brave's funds to pay for the repairs. Ava thinks that Kruai depends on Ark way too much, but Kruai doesn't think much of it. Ark is a really laid-back guy, so Kruai wants him to speak with the Angry Explorers Association for him as well. The Explorers Association wants to speak with Kai directly, but Kruai doesn't want to go outside without an escort. To make things worse, his disguised relic was broken as well. His disguised relic is called the Reversible Face, and it allows its user to have any face they want. Eva assures him that no one will attack him during the day, so Kruai decides to just go. At the Explorers Association, Kruai begs for mercy and apologizes for causing so much commotion. The association branch manager is Garg, and he tries to calm Kruai down. Kruai frantically continues to defend himself and points out that no civility would hurt Garg's assistant, which is that Garg wouldn't scold Kruai so hardly, but Garg points out that he hasn't even said anything yet. Garg explains that while no one has formally complained about the incident, clans like First Steps still need to set an example for the other hunters. He can't just let Kruai go unpunished. The Explorers Association gets tons of jobs, and some of them hardly pay any money. The other problem they have is that some jobs are so incredibly difficult that nobody will do them. The hunters call these types of jobs chores. Kark plans to punish Kruai with one of these chores, and he gets upset when Kruai seems like he's going to reject it. Kruai clears things up by accepting the punishment, but he points out that what he did this time wasn't actually that bad. Kruai looks through the book of chores, and he plans to pick an easy one that he would just pass on to Ark anyway. Kruai finds the perfect level 3 chore, and he calls it corpse retrieval duty. The girl points out that it's actually a rescue mission, and she wishes that he wouldn't joke about the hunters not surviving. After he leaves, Garka is impressed with Kruai for actually choosing the most dangerous mission. When he returns to his clan house, Kruai is shocked to hear that everyone else in the clan is out doing something. Tino reveals that she ended up with his ring because she didn't want anyone else to touch it, and she is glad to hear that she can really keep it. She is surprised when Kruai asks, so she is free right now, and she eagerly says that she has never been more free in her life. Tino's clearly expecting him to ask her out on a date, but Kruai just wants her to do the chore. Tino runs away as fast as she can, but Kruai uses his hounding chain to capture her. Tino has never been more disappointed, as she just wanted to go have some ice cream with Kruai. Instead, he just pushed a terrible chore onto her. What's worse is that she's just a level 4, and she can't rescue 5 people on her own. Tino knows that he sends his subordinates on missions where they nearly meet their demise to make them stronger, but she begs Kruai not to get carried away with this kind of Spartan training. Kai agrees that she shouldn't go alone. Tino assumes that this means he will be going with her, but she is disappointed to find that he just teamed her up with the hunters he met earlier. 6 years earlier, Kruai and his friends arrived at the Explorers Association. It's the treasure hunters' headquarters, but Kruai was hesitant to enter. Everyone reminded him that it was his idea to aim for the capital, but Kruai feared that he would hold everyone back because of how useless he was. Luke had enough of all this overthinking, and he just barged into the association and declared that he is the greatest swordsman in the world. He demanded to know who was the strongest fighter there, and he challenged them for the title. Pink-haired Liz didn't want him taking all the glory, so she introduced herself as the greatest thief in the world. Kruai just wanted to get the registration over with, but his friends went around making declarations. Luke told someone that the truly strong don't need to rely on a weapon, and he said that these are really the words of Kruai, their team leader. Kruai was told that they would have to register with their party's name and crest, but they never thought about those things. The clerk said that it was really important, so they should take their time deciding, but Kruai had a different idea. Kruai wanted to get revenge for his friends, making him their leader, and he chose a name that he was sure would make everyone think that they were weak. His friends were shocked when he chose to call them the Grieving Souls, and he made their crest a skull. His friends reminded him that there was supposed to be a hero party, but a name like that would make it seem like they're antisocial. Kruai tried to use this opportunity to weasel himself out of being their leader, but his friends ended up liking what he chose. With that, their party was made official, and it was the start of how Kruai became the renowned leader of the strongest clan. Back to the present, the big I still can't believe that Kruai is the clan master of steps. This is because the master has the nickname 1,000 Tricks and is also a level 8. Tino demands that the newbie group bow down before Kruai, but he tells the overzealous chick to calm down. Hunters who achieve a certain status are given special names by the association, and they become revered, almost like celebrities. There is no higher praise for a hunter, and 1,000 Tricks is the name that was given to Kruai. 1,000 Tricks is known as the strongest hunter in the capital, so Gilbert refuses to believe that Kruai is him. Tino tells the kid that he's just wasting his life if he can't even recognize Kruai's power, and she tells Kruai that she can't work with these losers. She hates guys that are all talk, but Kruai thinks that he's also one of those guys. Kruai doesn't consider himself to be the strongest in the capital, and he only became known as that because his friend shattered it to everyone. Gilbert refuses to party a Patino as well, but it's because he doesn't want to listen to a guy that's lying about being level 8. Greg tries to remind him who he's picking a fight with, but Gilbert just can't believe that Kruai is the leader of the strongest party. An argument breaks out between newbies, so Kruai decides to just give up on convincing Gilbert. Greg and Ruda are on board, so Kruai tells Tino to get another guild member to help her if she needs it. Tino cleverly tries to choose Kruai, but he quickly shuts her down. That's all settled, but out of nowhere, Gilbert challenges Kruai. He refuses to listen to anyone weaker than him, so if Kruai can beat him, then he will go with Tino. Kruai accepts the challenge, but he sends Tino to find his place. Tino eagerly points out that the kid was being rude to the master, so it's time for her to rain divine punishment down upon him. Tino stretches before the fight, but Gilbert is eager to get his rematch. Gilbert insists on fighting Kruai next, but Kruai doubts that he will even come close to beating Tino. Gilbert is then shocked to hear that Tino is level 4 just like him. Tino admits to being garbage compared to Kruai, but she is confident that she will win the fight easily. Tino even decides to hold back so she doesn't kill Gilbert by accident. The other rookies are kind of worried about Tino though, because Steve starts so great at head-to-head combat. Kruai, on the other hand, knows better. Tino has plenty of experience fighting humans, and she achieved level 8 solo, so she is likely way better than Gilbert. Kruai is slightly concerned about Gilbert's relic. It's called the Purgatorial Sword, and it might be able to tip the scales in Gilbert's favor. Just then, Gilbert shocks everyone as he throws his powerful sword aside. He refuses to let anyone underestimate him, and he declares that he doesn't need a weapon to defeat an unarmed female. A swordsman throwing his sword away seems pretty stupid to Kruai, but at least now the fight can come down to sheer ability. Tino prepares for a battle, and she manages to convince Kruai to take her for ice cream when she wins. Tino starts the fight off by surprising Gilbert with her amazing speed, and her kick sends him flying. Gilbert isn't ready to give up, but Tino puts him in a lock and reminds him that she was holding back a lot. She offers to have mercy on him, but only if he worships Kruai as a god from now on and prays to him 3 times a day. She also demands for him to bring her tributes that she can pass on to Kruai. Gilbert loses his mind with anger as he won't be made a fool of, but Tino instantly silences him. Tino credits Kruai for helping her get so strong, but he doesn't think he really did anything. The others are shocked by how strong the steps are, and Gilbert can only wallow in his failure. He always knew that he was born to be a hunter. He wielded a sword at a young age, and he quickly surpassed adults with his skill. He eventually came to the capital, where he joined the party and cleared several treasure vaults. Gilbert was really proud of himself, and he began to believe that he was the best. Tino now tells him that he should try using his sword if he wants to keep fighting, but Gilbert refuses. Tino mocks him for his pride and points out that it's all for nothing if he ends up losing his life. Gilbert realizes that she is right because he would have been long gone if this was a real fight. Gilbert is surprised when Kruai correctly guesses that he left his party because he was too strong for them. Kruai says that the same thing happened with his party, but he thinks about how in his case, his friends didn't abandon him. Unfortunately, Gilbert takes this the wrong way. The Grieving Souls is a group of elites who stand out even above all the greatest parties. So Gilbert is shocked because he thinks that Kruai has been showing mercy to his teammates by staying with them, even though he is far stronger than them. Kruai shocks Gilbert when he touches his sword, activating its power, and Kruai is able to tell what it does. It causes elemental damage, and it gives improved attack range. Gilbert can't believe his eyes because he has never seen anyone handle the Purgatorial Sword so easily. That isn't all, as Kruai has created a flame that even he has never been able to achieve. Kruai did all this without even touching the hilt of the sword. Gilbert's frustration builds as his ego is destroyed, and he calls Kruai a monster. We then learned that monomaterial is said to be the core substance of this world, and treasure vaults are a phenomenon where monomaterial is condensed. This creates alternate worlds inside the vaults based on memories extracted from the core of the world. The White Wolf's Den is one of these vaults, and it's the one Tina was going to. It was inhabited by silver moon wolves, but this monster was eradicated due to uncontrolled hunting of its fur. The vault eventually appeared, and so a blood-soaked wolf phantom. Kruai is glad that he didn't go himself, but he is sure that Tino and the others will be fine. It's only a level 3 vault, and there are 4 in her party. Later, Kruai thanks Ava for telling him about Gilbert leaving his old party because it really allowed him to surprise the kid. Ava heard about Kruai's antics earlier, and he explained that the sword was a type of relic that he could control easily. Kruai really loves relics because their infinite variety of shapes and uses make them fun to collect. Also, they allow someone like him to create miracles. Kruai wonders if he could buy the Purgatorial Sword from Gilbert, but Ava hates his reckless spending. She thinks that Kruai has plenty of relics like it already, but Kruai points out that they are all vastly different. They might look similar, but they have their own personalities and they do different things. Kruai is seriously addicted to collecting them, and Ava has heard that he has been taking out loans to buy them despite the grievers raking in tons of cash. Kruai is a serious delinquent, and he has borrowed a considerable amount of money. The Griever's profits are split evenly amongst its members, regardless of contribution, so even Kruai, who doesn't do anything, gets loads of money. The relic addict goes to get his precious relics charged, and he is told about a rumor saying that a phantom has appeared on a nearby road. It destroyed an entire guarded caravan, along with 3 level 3 guards. This means that it must be pretty strong. So the Knights of the Third Order are recruiting for an extermination party. Kruai is shocked to learn that it happened by the White Wolf's den, and the vault is now crawling with wolves. Kruai convinces himself that it's only a rumor, and even if it isn't, Tino was strong enough to handle anything. Of course, the rumor continues because the monsters inside the wolf's den are apparently getting stronger. The association is even talking about changing its level. Kruai continues to brush it off, but the rumor also says that a level 5 party has gone missing in the area. This shocks Kruai, so he checks the fact sheet for the chore he chose. It does indeed reveal that the party in need of rescue is level 5, and Kruai regrets never actually reading the sheet. The pair he is talking to is shocked to hear that Christ sent to level 4 Tino to a vault where level 5s have gone missing. But Kruai says that it will be good practice for her. Kruai tries to assure them more by saying that he sent 3 adventurers with her, but they are horrified that he sent her with a makeshift group. They always thought that the horrifying rumors about the trials Kruai put his members through were not true, but it's clear now that the tests he does are what make the Grievers the top party. Kruai begins to panic about sending the group to their demise, but he again convinces himself that they will be okay. Gilbert is pretty strong, and he also has a powerful relic. Unfortunately, Kruai remembers that he used up all the sword's power, and he can only wonder if Gilbert charged before leaving. We then watch as the group approaches the White Wolf's den. They begin to sense how dangerous the mission is, and Tino explains that she even wrote her will before leaving. Ruda determines that Kruai knew that there was something going on in the den, which is why he sent them. Tino believes this as well, as she is certain that their party's composition isn't random. She says that Kruai planned every tiny detail, but the guys refuse to believe it because they all just met the day before. Also, Gilbert only came along because he decided to. Just then, Gilbert remembers that Kruai even knew why he left his old party, and he realizes that Kruai was just manipulating the situation from the very beginning. Tino adds to Kruai's legend by explaining that he has vast knowledge of all the adventures in the capital, and it's a child's play for him to read their actions and thoughts. Ruda finds it hard to believe, but Greg points out that Kruai even calculated what would happen at the interview. Every single thing that has happened has been planned. Tino tells them all not to worry though, because no matter what happens, it's all according to Kruai's calculations. She is sure that he would never send them on an impossible mission. Unfortunately for these dummies, they are way off, as Kruai has done exactly that. He hopes that the group will eventually just give up when the mission becomes too hard, but he knows that Tino won't quit easily. No one will respond for backup at this time of day, so Kruai will have to go himself. Back with the group, they are terrified when they encounter a powerful phantom. This is clearly no regular wolf, as it has armor and even a sword. Tino thinks this is just another legendary test that Kruai is putting her through, but Kruai is desperately searching for relics to help him stop the group from going to the vault. He tries to get as many as he can, but a save captures his attention. Ava wonders what he's doing, so Kruai just tells her that he's just going for a little stroll. Ava can tell that he's worried about the group, but she is shocked to see that he's even taking something called sea tree slime. Kruai denies even having this item because it would violate Imperial law. However, Kruai thinks about how all the relics that he could use for offense are out of mana, so he needs to take it as a last resort. Ava wonders if you should take someone with him, but Kruai's traveling relic only works on one person. Kruai activates the relic and takes off into the sky. This concerns Ava because it's the relic from the horrifying human missile incident. It's called the Night Hiker, but it's incredibly dangerous. It has zero safety, no brakes, and it can't hover or steer. It's basically defective. A short look into the past shows 1 week after the Grieving Souls was created, the Redhead's ultimate divine sword, called the Testament Blade, had been broken, and he couldn't believe it. The others pointed out that it's pretty much just a wooden sword, and it didn't stand a chance against the Cyclops they just fought. Some old drunk adventurer assumes that they are lying and mocks them for running away from the beast. The girls in Grieving Souls show him the eye of the Cyclops, and the drunk guy nearly wets himself from fear. Back to the present, Tino's group finishes up wrecking the wolf monster. Such a powerful monster should not have appeared here, and they were lucky because there was only one of them. The others wonder why Gilbert didn't use his flames, so he explains that it's out of mana. Gilbert realizes that it's because Kruai used it all up, and he reveals that he can't charge it himself. The others think they should just retreat because the people they're supposed to be rescuing are probably already dead anyway, but Tino refuses. She explains that they're not here to collect the dead, and those people are still alive. Tino declares that the Master's decision-making is infallible, and depleting the mana of the Purgatorial Sword must be part of his plan. She figures that Kruai just doesn't want them to rely on relics. They eventually arrive at the White Wolf's den, and they find that the wolves are much larger than usual. The den was created for the original wolves that were much smaller, so these big ones are kind of cramped inside. This means that it would be better if they rushed in to fight inside instead of letting the beasts have more room outside. Gilbert plans to go in first, but Tino insults him several times and even calls him a stupid idiot. It's her duty to keep everyone alive, and rushing in is the dumbest thing she has ever heard. Kruai is obviously testing to see how she performs as a leader, so she must keep everyone alive. Tino decides that the girls will draw the monsters forward since they are more nimble and the guys can take out the back line. As the leader, Peter refuses to let anyone sacrifice themselves as a shield. Meanwhile, we find Kruai flying through the air. His thinking is much different than Tino's, as he just hopes that she is alive, and he wants her to use the rest of the party as meat shields if she has to. Tino's party has entered battle, but their opponents are considerably stronger than them. However, the one thing they have going for them is teamwork. The group wins their first fight, and Tino's glad that the enemy has no concept of cooperation. The battle continues as more monsters appear, and Tino thinks about how their little makeshift party isn't so bad. Gilbert has a big mouth, but he is pretty strong. Ruta isn't too flashy, but she is an expert at locating enemies. Greg has tons of experience, and he coordinates well with others. Tino credits Kruai for putting such a good team together, and she even calls him a god. A look back shows the problems Gilbert had with his old party. They couldn't keep up with him, so he left the party and was full of anger. He realizes now that he wasn't taking their feelings into consideration, and it actually feels really nice to fight with the team. The team wins another battle, and Gilbert says that he's just getting warmed up. Moments later, Tino senses that the dungeon boss is nearby. The others think it's finally time to run away, but Tino points out that they have gotten this far without a scratch, so they should be able to handle the boss too. Tino agrees that caution is generally good, but safe missions don't make people grow. Greg thinks about how when a hunter reaches level 4, they can make a comfortable living just by completing treasure vaults below their level. Greg did this and always just ran away when a mission got too difficult. He has seen countless friends die in battle, so it has made him fearful. Tino can tell that he approached first steps because he wanted to change this about himself, and it's probably why Kruai put Greg in this party. She predicts that Kruai didn't just put them together randomly, and he actually wanted to save all these losers. She declares that Kai doesn't just do things without a good reason, and everything is going according to his perfect plan. Ruta is now a believer, so she wants to know what Kai's reason for picking her was. But Tino assumes that he just picked her because of her very large plot points up in this guy. Kai fears that he's too late to stop Tino from entering the vault. He panics because this flying relic is way too out of control, and he curses the person who made it. It's so crazy and out of control that it sends Kruai flying straight into the vault. Inside, Tino's group is horrified when it encounters the boss because it's just way too big. They all run for their lives, and of course, Greg wonders if now is a good time to retreat. Tino refuses to give up on one of Kruai's trials, and she comes up with a plan. The boss isn't wearing a helmet, so she identifies it as the boss's weak point. The guys distract the giant beast with some attacks, and Ruta's amazed when she notices that Tino never shows any fear. Greg ends up in a dangerous spot when his sword is destroyed. Ruta manages to save him in time. Tina shows her amazing skills as she closes the gap with the furious monster and stabs him right in the neck. Tino's group is victorious, and she uses a potion on her injured leg. The team is pretty gleeful at this point, as all that is left to do is the rescue. Tino gives Greg a sword for the time being, but she must quickly dodge an attack. Everyone is then horrified when more bosses appear, and they fear that they won't be able to defeat so many. Even Tino thinks that Kruai has gone overboard with his test, and she decides that they will have to run into a nearby passage so the bosses won't be able to attack them. Unfortunately, the passage is blocked, so the guys decide that they have no other choice but to act as bait so the girls can escape. The guys tell the girls not to dwell on it too much because it's simply better than all of them dying. Tino wonders why Kruai would put them in this position, and she is shocked when she realizes something about Kruai's ring. She reminds the others that they will not be sacrificing anyone, and they just need to aim for the boss's eyes. She once again sends everyone to distract one of the beasts, and Ruda manages to make it close its eye. Tino then has a memory of one Kruai shoulder and how to use the relic she won from him. She uses this relic on the boss, and it absolutely binds it. The others send Gilbert in to deal the finishing blow, but Tino can tell that something is wrong. It's too late, however, as Gilbert gets struck by the monster, and he apologizes for failing. Tino takes the blame for not being a better leader, and she concedes that they're done for as the four bosses approach them just and out of nowhere. Everyone is shocked when Kruai crashes into the vault. Kruai says hello to Tino, and Greg notices that the monsters seem to be scared of Kruai for some reason. The monsters try attacking Kruai, but his shield protects him, and the monsters are shocked. Kruai pities the beast as he explains that he has 17 lives, and he uses one of his relics for an attack. This attack is incredibly powerful as it lights up the entire cave, and Greg is shocked to see what a level 8 looks like. Kruai wonders why there are so many terrifying-looking monsters here, because this is supposed to be a level 3 vault. The rest of the group is shocked to see that the boss monsters survived Kruai's attack. But Carr knew that that would be the case because shooting rings are not that powerful. The rest of the team panics as the other bosses close in on Kruai because they have swords and guns for weapons. Kruai, on the other hand, isn't too worried as he thinks about how he brought 17 safety rings with him. All the bosses prepare to attack at once, so Kruai determines he has no other choice and he will have to use his secret weapon. The monsters are horrified when he takes his necklace off and drinks something from the vial. Kruai uses the vial to create a smokescreen, and he tells the others to run for their lives. They are moving pretty slowly, so Gilbert assured that they would be caught. Ruda reminds him that Tino was injured, so that is why Kruai is purposely moving slowly behind them. This isn't the case, however, as Kruai is actually just a really slow runner. Tino also thinks he's doing it on purpose to protect her, and she thinks about the first time they met. Tino was being bothered by some thugs, but the grieving souls appeared to save her. Tino wanted to join the grievers ever since then, and that is when she began her admiration for Kruai. Everyone thanks Kruai for coming to the rescue, and they credit Tino for keeping them alive for so long. Kruai praises Tino for doing so well, but her injuries are causing her a lot of pain. Kruai realizes what she wants him to do, so he heals her, and Tino declares that she no longer feels any pain. Gilbert is amazed to see him healing with the relic, but Kruai defensively thinks about how he needs a relic for everything. Unfortunately, Kruai wasn't able to beat the bosses, but they have more problems on their hands. They are completely lost inside the vault, with no sign of where the exit is, and Kruai has no clue what to do. I appreciate you viewing my anime recap, Unruly Family. Please let me know what you think about this anime recap by liking, sharing, and commenting. And please subscribe to the channel to help us reach 5,000 subscribers.
Take